Have you ever wondered why the great majority of the people on Earth remain so ignorant? Why only a small fraction of the people really succeed at anything in life? Plato gave us the answer 400 years B.C. He said, "Neither do the ignorant seek after wisdom, for herein is the evil of ignorance, that he who is neither good nor wise is nevertheless satisfied with himself. He has no desire for that of which he feels no want." Isn't that about it? I think the great Spanish teacher and author José Ortega y Gasset carried Plato's wisdom right into the 20th century. He points out in his excellent book, Some Lessons in Metaphysics, that even though human knowledge has experienced an almost unbelievable growth during the past 100 years, most especially during the past 50, the great majority of the people have not only cut themselves off from this great growing body of knowledge, they have become, if anything, more barbaric than they were before, and he explains why. The only way a human being can get to knowledge is through study. Ortega y Gasset compares study to paying taxes. It's something people don't like to do, and something practically no one does when he doesn't have to. The great majority of people will go to school just as long as they have to. During that time, they will learn only what is absolutely necessary, which isn't very much, and they will stop on any subject the moment they're allowed to. That's why we have the mind-boggling phenomenon of a multi-billion-dollar school establishment and a nation of people with barely enough useful information to find a seat of their pants with both hands. You see, that answers a question that bothered me, and perhaps you too, for years. The question was, how is it possible in a nation as modern, in a society as advanced, in a standard of living as high as it is in ours, for a human being to reach the age of 50 with so small a collection of useful information? Never in the history of man has a nation offered the opportunities for learning as has the U.S., and had those opportunities as systematically ignored. Succeeding in the free world, and most especially the United States, is not difficult. All we need to do is obtain a fairly good education along the lines in which we're interested, and it's free. We're surrounded by it on every side. It lurks in readiness in our public libraries, in the extension courses of our fine schools and universities. And the great majority of the people sit dull-eyed and slack-jawed in front of their TV sets and occasionally querulously complain because they're not more successful, or tell a British research team they'd like a 20% increase in income. By far the great majority of them are overpaid as it is. But they have what we want. We have only to find ways to serve them better. They are the world's champion consumers. If they devoted a half hour a night to continuing education, they could be the world's smartest people, too, but they don't seem to know about that. Nor do they seem to know that there's freedom and fun in knowledge. As I mentioned earlier, if there's one thing that typifies our society, it's boredom, apathy. Whenever you find boredom, you find the absence of a good idea. And whenever you find the absence of a good and exciting idea, you find a person who isn't using his equipment anywhere near par. In the excellent book, The Nature of Man, there appears the line, "Man tends to achieve his being inasmuch as he develops love and reason." Now, there's something worth thinking about for the next 20 years. Man tends to achieve his being inasmuch as he develops love and reason. Love and reason. Here's where our hope lies, our opportunity for service, growth, and fulfillment. How are we doing in the love department? How good are we when it comes to reason? I think that great line should be made into a little sign that we should put up in our kitchens. It would be a good idea to have it on the visors of our cars as we drive to and from work. Love and reason. And on the job, too. Love and reason. It's hard to improve upon, isn't it? It's the way to transcend the grubby commonplaceness of existence. You know, the most important step a human being can take is the one that leads to transcendence, even a little transcendence. In the same book, The Nature of Man, we read, "Transcend is a tricky word. Let's give it its full meaning by trying to encompass its different specific meanings. Transcendence may be used in a religious or metaphysical context as indicating the existence of a higher power. Transcendence may also mean a liberation from egotism and selfishness, and thus an attitude of openness and real communication with others. Transcendence may finally mean, and this especially in existentialist thinking, a going beyond oneself in time, a reaching out of oneself toward the future. However, one thing is common to the different meanings of the word: going beyond our self-absorbed ego, freeing ourselves from the prison of egotism and relating ourselves to reality. Once the term has been defined, it seems clear that life has a meaning if transcendence is achieved. If man does not limit himself to the selfishness and destructiveness of the mirror created by Narcissus, to give oneself is the only way of being oneself. This paradoxical sentence is only paradoxical in appearance. It can be found in the teachings of the Upanishads, in the Gospels, in the Vedas, and among others, in the writings of Plato, Aristotle, Kant, Goethe, Marx, Scheler, Russell, and Machado. Transcendence is a goal worth working toward, and within the reach of anyone. By getting above the dismal, narrow life based strictly on the ego and learning to give of ourselves to our work, our families, and our play, and by so doing become ourselves, we solve our three major problems at one fell swoop. How we spend our days, our family, our income. Our days will be full and richly rewarding. Our family life will take on new love and meaning, and our income will take care of itself. By really giving of ourselves, we will be maximizing our service, which will automatically maximize our rewards. It's not an easy thing to achieve, but worth working toward, and it can be done in balance, without rush, by getting our priorities straight and organizing our time. An early start helps. Living in balance helps our appearance, too. We tend to look younger when peace and confidence radiate from us. It's been said that everybody's face is his own fault after 40. It reflects the real person inside. I spoke of learning to play golf earlier. My good friend, the well-known golfing writer Gary Wyron, tells of a man in San Francisco who jogs 6.7 miles every morning. That's the distance around Golden Gate Park. He also walks 5 miles to and from work. He works as a banquet waiter, boxes a couple of times a week, and tosses in 8 or 9 games of handball. As you can imagine, he's in magnificent physical condition. He's also 103 years old. His name is Larry Lewis, and he began running in 1876 at the age of 9, and he's been running and keeping as active as he was at that early age ever since. He's made the comment that you should never refer to a person as being so many years old, since old often means something dilapidated. Larry Lewis doesn't intend to become dilapidated, especially during his second 100 years. Gary Wyron suggests that each of us should ask himself these questions. Are my muscles getting soft and flabby? Do I feel chronically tired and dragged out? Am I clumsy performing physical tasks which once were relatively easy for me? Can I feel and see unsightly bulges of fat on my body? Do I have to stop and catch my breath after climbing 1 or 2 flights of stairs? Is my physical zest for life missing or rapidly failing? If you agreed to more than a couple of those questions, you may well become a victim of premature aging. Here's another great contributor to the cardiovascular plague I mentioned earlier. It isn't that we want to live forever, or even as old as Larry Lewis may be, although I think it's a great idea if you're enjoying life, but we can ward off premature disease and avoid looking like 200 pounds of chicken fat in a polyethylene bag by spending just a few minutes a day exercising. I do. I hate it, but I do, and I find it gets me off to a pretty good start. Much better than when I don't exercise. I've never been a physical fitness nut, but I believe we should take care of our bodies just as we should our minds, and to get the best use of both takes exercise. Gary Wyron says that in the absence of crippling disease or chronic disability, there is no biological or physiological reason why a human being need deteriorate markedly until well past the age of 70. Most people don't lose the battle against premature aging. They simply never wage it. Sir Adolph Abrams once made the comment that everybody wants to live a long time, but nobody wants to be old. Well, to a surprising extent, it's possible. Gary Wyron goes on to say, with daily exercise, you'll not only look better, with stronger and firm muscles and have a more attractive figure and posture, you'll also sleep more soundly, experience less listlessness and fatigue, be able to release pent-up emotions, increase your endurance and capacity for work, enjoy better health, greater longevity, and possess an improved self-concept. It's estimated that only 4 to 5% of the adult American population exercises regularly. Why? Why such an anemic figure in the face of such consequences? The answer lies in the placement of priorities. Our scale of values is cockeyed. Think for a moment. What would you trade for good health? Can you think of anything you would trade for good health? I can't, because with health we can do anything and enjoy it. Every morning I face the chore of exercising. I do it in my dressing room adjoining the bath. I hate it, as I said. It only takes a few minutes. I feel great when I get into the shower after exercising, and I'm glad I do it after I've done it, but I hate to start it. Once I start, I'm okay. It's like getting started with this typewriter of mine. I look for any little excuse to delay it, put it off for a few minutes, but once I start, I'm okay. No one can make you exercise every morning but yourself. It's an excellent exercise in self-control, too. It's truly amazing at how quickly the body responds. Before you know it almost, you'll look years better. You'll have a flat, hard belly and good muscles. Your wind will be good and your step brisk, and, well, it could add many years to your life. I read an estimate not long ago that 80% of all deaths are brought on by obesity, overweight. Now, exercise won't take off weight, although it will redistribute it to some extent. Only eating sensibly will have you at your proper weight and keep you at your proper weight. You can eat the same well-balanced meals, just eat less.